All right, so good morning. Today we are talking about relationships. This is a big one, right? Because as we continually do all of these energetic upgrades and constantly, finding new ways to learn about different types of spirituality and like all of the things that we're just suddenly so interested in, or that you're suddenly so interested in. What do you do when the people who are closest to you are not interested at all and don't have any connection to what you're doing? What do you do? This is really difficult. And so I'm going to start talking about partnerships because that's a tricky one. So let's say you're married and you've started on your spiritual journey. You're starting to get into crystals and energy. Maybe you've taken a Reiki course. You're like listening to me every morning and I'm saying all kinds of weird stuff. And you're just really in that vibe. You're getting into it. This is such a tender point, right? Because this is where somebody can say something to you and kind of shake your foundation, so to speak. You may already be kind of shook, right? Because you don't know what all of this new stuff is happening to you is for, or if it's going to lead somewhere, or whatever it is. And your partner is just really not interested and possibly thinks it's cute and adorable and funny, but not relevant to everyday life. What do you do? It is tricky. But I'm going to lay down for you what I think the best plan is. Because here's the deal. We never change anybody by talking at them, telling them what to do, or seeking for them to validate our experiences. So if you are in a relationship with somebody who is not interested in anything energetic, that's okay. It's not for you to change them. And I will say this, when you start getting into living this way, doing your manifesting, you're at crystals everywhere, you're like really all into it, you're learning all of these different things, it's really important to remember that sometimes the most woke person can be a person who doesn't know anything about anything, okay? And this often happens. Your partner could very well be this little hidden Buddha that just is at that level all by themselves. It totally can happen. And they don't need to go through the process that you're currently going through. So that is a possibility. It's not all the possibilities. But I will say, I was telling somebody the other day that I feel like my partner kind of came in here, like if there's a level, like level 1 to 10, he came in at level 12, but he has no idea what the game is. So whereas I'm over here like learning about all these things and like having my mind blown by different paradigms, he's just over there like randomly, dropping bombs that he doesn't even really have any investment in. And I'm like, oh, okay then. I worked, 3 years to get to that point, but no problem. So this is possible that you may be looking for something in a specific way with your partner that they're not going to exhibit in that way. The most important thing is that you are being supported and not being made fun of, made to feel less than, or anything like that. Those things aren't cool, and this is where your personal boundaries are going to step up, right? So if you are learning about all these things, you have these interests, this is really resonating with you, and your partner is making fun of you, making light of you, telling you can't do this, you can't do that, or otherwise just kind of being a wet blanket on all the fun things you want to do, that's your personal boundary, right? That's you with anything saying, okay, I love you, but this is not for you to tell me to do yes or no. And that's for you to figure out how to implement that and figure out where you want that in your life, okay? So you you set the boundaries and you show how you will be treated and what you will tolerate, and then you go from there. So this is not a spiritual concept. This is literally a boundary concept. So if you have somebody in your life who is being unkind to you and is abusive towards all of the things that you're doing right now, that's where you lay down the boundary and say, you can't treat me that way, because it has nothing to do with you being involved in anything spiritual or learning new things, and everything to do with somebody not respecting your personal boundary. So there's that. We have a question. Erin asks, when will I find my person? Enough with the players and asshats. Bonus if he or she is also intuitive and supportive. Are they out there? Okay, so I'm going to answer this question, and don't shoot the messenger on this one. I almost feel like I need to read this channel from Peony, but it's on my phone and I can't do it. But actually, weeks and weeks ago, I channeled Peony about twin flames. And I'm going to do my best. I'm totally becoming derailed, but I'll get back to the other things. I'm going to do my best to remember all the things she said about twin flames, because this is important. Basically, we as humans have for a very long time felt that we are here in partial form, that we are half of something and seek the other half to become whole. This is not true. This is a terrible scavenger hunt that keeps us on these journeys and missions that take us farther and farther away from ourselves and from the wholeness that we have inside of us. So the whole concept that there is another person out there who is your perfect match, and who, once you unite, you will complete each other and be able to do all of your missions and everything will be amazing and all the stuff. No, is the short answer. That's not the answer to what you're looking for as far as that wholeness, because the wholeness is to be found here. Now, what is beautiful is when two whole beings collide and realize that in that collision, they create an energy that is magnificent. And this can happen romantically. It doesn't have to happen romantically. This is just two whole beings colliding. What happens when that occurs is that because they are already whole and not seeking wholeness with each other, they're able to collide and bring their full magic together. And this that they make right here is amazing. And that's what we truly are seeking. And that's why it never feels like we quite achieve it, because we're going at it from that partial way. So you know how when you're in the beginning of a relationship and you're so super into each other and you're doing all the things together and you're making sure to be like really notice the little things they like, maybe this coffee or this, they like this kind of music, whatever it is, you're really like tuned in. And then maybe a few years into the relationship, maybe you get married, I don't know what it is, but you kind of lose that because you're like, oh, I've got them, we're good. And we kind of coast along and, make other things priority, whatever it is. When you first begin your relationship, you come at it with your two separate lives, and then usually we do this merging thing where a lot of our separate lives and activities that we like to do, hobbies, friends, they fall off, right? Because we become so hyper-focused on the relationship. What ends up happening is you start to lose that sense of, let me make this really cool person happy and like me, and like really involve yourself in this relationship to make it work, because you've had a little bit of complacency come in. When you come at each other from two whole spaces, you know that you're both good, independent of each other. You have your own interests that circulate around you, orbit around you. You have your own friends, the things that make you shine and shimmer and become excited. And that's really important. They have theirs. So they can look over at you and be like, wow, look at her go. And you can look over at them and say, that's pretty awesome. And it has nothing to do with you. That is really important, because otherwise the entanglement weakens the connection. So long story short, if you have this idea inside of you that there's this twin flame out there that is like looking to hit you with a collision course and become this whole thing, you're missing the point of being here on earth, because you didn't lose anybody. You didn't lose anybody. We were all up there. We made decisions to come down here. We have different agreements, different soul agreements. And what Peony was saying about the twin flame stuff is that it's not this wholeness that's coming together. It's not this wholeness coming together. It's assists, okay? So she was saying that we make agreements with our soul family. And when we meet our soul family, we instantly recognize them. And sometimes it is a romantic connection. But what often happens is we'll say to our buddies up there, we'll say, okay, this is the mission that I am going to be doing on earth. But of course, we get here, we forget everything, right? So they say, all right, if I get super off topic, if I'm really off my mission, please come hip check me and realign me with my path. And that is what happens. And we also do this for others, and we don't even realize it. It could be as simple as like literally bumping into somebody in a coffee shop and saying something to them, and it's like, boom, now they're on a different course. And the same thing happens to you. So there are people we will meet and you will recognize them and you'll say, oh my God, this must be my soulmate, because like, oh, you know? But what it is this is your bud coming in, and it might be a brief relationship, it might be a friendship, who knows what it is, but they're there to redirect you because you've made an agreement. And that is a beautiful thing. And we have so many of these things, but please let go of this idea that you are not whole as a being. It is insane to think that we've gone this long thinking that we are incomplete beings. But it was necessary for us to think we're incomplete beings to strip off of our power. Because if we think we're incomplete and we're completely wrapped up in trying to find another person to complete us, we don't have time to rise up and fix all of the crazy things that are happening on this earth, right? We're way too concerned with first becoming whole and finding that other person and all the other things that happen when we lose our sovereignty. So this is truly a sovereign topic, because it's all about realizing that relationships should complement and uplift you and support you. They're not there to complete you. You're already complete. You're good. So just remember that as we kind of move forward. And we'll talk now about friendships, because I've heard from so many people and have experienced this myself, something that I call lack of resonance, okay? And it's really important to remember when you start to feel this lack of resonance, that it doesn't mean one person is better than the other. This is simply vibration. Okay, so if you are, traveling along, you're doing your thing, you have your buddies who are, kind of jiving with you, right? And then you start leveling up and you start moving into higher frequencies. It's really difficult to connect with this frequency here. In fact, in order to do that, you have to drop down again. And when you drop down into that frequency, that's when you experience being drained after hanging out with somebody, having feelings of anxiety, or just feeling really discontent because you're feeling like you're talking and you can't quite connect, right? If you have to continually drop down in your energetic frequency to connect with people, that's a sign that you're now not in resonance. And what does that mean? We as humans are like avid collectors of relationships, and there are certain relationships we feel should last forever, such as friendships. We think, oh, well, I've had this friend since I was in second grade and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, so you've had this friend since second grade. You've told me repeatedly that in your adult life, which is like 26 years later, this person is a continual source of stress and anxiety and pain for you. But you are not going to remove this person from your orbit simply because they've been your friend since second grade. If that is how you feel, then that needs to be worked into how you then go about to understand your own energetic connections. Because if that's how you feel and you feel like that's what you're aligned with and it's not going to change, then you also don't get to complain about this person making you feel XYZ, because you are absolutely not beholden to stay in any relationships that are damaging for you, that don't feel good for you. That's a rule you're making for yourself, right? So understand these things. Like, we're never stuck the way that we think we're stuck, right? We just build these little rules all around us, so we're kind of caged in and can't have a whole lot of space. But the cool thing about resonance is that it's always moving, right? So it may be true that a friendship that you've had may drop out, right? But hey, 6 months from now, whoop, it may drop back in. The important thing is staying here in your heart with it and always sending love to the connection, but putting yourself first, putting your energetic needs first, and understanding that in the big picture, that assists everybody. Because trust me, it doesn't feel good for them either if they're vibrating here and you're vibrating there. They're also not connecting with you, okay? And you can't go down here and say, come on up, because that's not how people work. So what you can do is be awesome, do your work, and have fun, have a good time, and allow that energy to move and radiate out around you and show others that whatever it is you're up to is really a good thing and is happy and is fun, and they might actually ask for an invitation into that space. And that's something that often happens. Oh my goodness, I'm getting all these notifications. I often think of this example because I grew up vegetarian and all of my family's vegetarian. So I've known a lot of like very intense vegans in my life. I call them militant vegans. And it's always so interesting to me because if you truly believe that everybody should be vegan, like that's a thing, like that's what you truly want, and you feel like it's better for the environment and for the animals and for all of our health, why are you attacking people? Nobody likes to be attacked. Nobody has ever turned vegan because you've like shamed them into not eating meat. That's really terrible energy, right? But rather, wouldn't you rather just do your life and choose the lifestyle that resonates with you and understand everybody has to have their own path? And then as you are on your vegan lifestyle and you are thriving and amazing and doing all these things, then people come to you and say, what is it that you're doing? Tell me more about this veganism thing. And that's called an invitation, which means that person's energy is soft and open to receiving the knowledge that you have. And it's completely a game changer when it comes to moving frequencies. Because if you come at a person and they're not soft and open to receive, you're just being kind of a dick, right? You're just like yelling at them and saying these things and telling them that they're not good enough and they should do this and they should do that. And that doesn't change hearts. It doesn't change behaviors. It just makes them close off to you, and it makes your energy go down as well. So just remember that with relationships, if you've found what works for you, please allow it to work for you. It doesn't have to work for anybody else. And that's what's really important, right? So if you've discovered a way of living now that feels really resonant with you and you take so much joy, you're opening up to new community, you're meeting new friends, you're learning all these amazing things, energy's flowing from your hands, like you're in it. Just be in it. Nobody else has to validate that for you. That's why you have this community. That's why we've all connected together, so that we can be there for each other because we're all in this same space. You don't have to pull everybody in and make them also like you. Everybody's different and everybody has a different path. So understand that you can absolutely have an amazing partnership with somebody who does not believe in ascension, does not believe in, that energy is real, like all these things. You can totally have an amazing partnership with that person as long as they respect you and enough that they understand that this is what you believe, and they're not going to be running around contradicting you and making you feel bad about it. They can have their belief system and you can have yours, and you can have a beautiful relationship in the middle. It's absolutely possible. Now, I totally understand wanting somebody who is like right there with you, and I have to go in a minute because I have 9 o'clock stuff, but I just want to tell you this one thing because I've realized this. Just make sure you understand what you're asking for, because here's the thing. I know that as a person, I am very extra. I am a lot of energy, a lot of feelings, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of woo, woo, woo. I'm not super grounded at any point in time. I can be, but I prefer to be doing my thing and flitting around. So for me, if I was with another person who was just like me, and we spent the whole day just talking about the universe and doing all these things, guess what? We would probably be homeless because none of us would remember to pay any bills. We wouldn't know how to feed each other. God help the children if we had any, that kind of thing. So understand that you may have been attracted to somebody who's here to ground you and to be your balance, okay? Because I know that I was. Because I know that if I was with somebody like me, it would wrap my energy up so much that I wouldn't be able to output with you guys. Does that make sense? If I was with somebody who was just as needy as I am and just as high energy and extra, whatever you want to call me, this would consume me. This would completely consume me, and we would consume each other, and we would do nothing outward. So just remember that when you're thinking like, oh, I wish I was with somebody who was just like me and like understood all these different concepts. Not to say that you shouldn't want to be with somebody who understands what the hell you're talking about, but know that they don't have to be just like you. And that whole thing about opposites attracting is a real thing because we always seek balance, right? So while you're a whole freaking person and they're a whole freaking person, you're two very different people. And when you come together and you have those differences that come together, you can balance each other in those ways and help each other in the different places where you're not the same. And that is where, and this is just getting into relationship talk, which I could go on and on and on about, but this is where understanding your differences and celebrating them come into play. Understanding the strengths of your partner and allowing them to understand your strengths, and then having that be a source of uplifting, not of why aren't you like me kind of a thing, So it's a balancing act for sure, and it is a lot, and we have kind of just scratched the surface on this topic of relationships, but I hope that is helpful for you to kind of start thinking about. I think the main takeaway for today is that we are all whole people. And we need to be whole, multifaceted, interesting, weird, crazy, wild people all by ourselves so that we can attract those really weird, interesting, crazy, wild people into our orbit as our friends, as our lovers, as our teachers, however they come through. Allow these energies to come in and harmonize with you, because that's where the magic is. It's not only just about finding that one person. It's about finding your group of people who together you make the most beautiful music in the form of vibration. And when you do that, when you kind of lock in and you find those people, be fluid about it and understand that everybody's moving at different points. Just enjoy where you are in the moment. You don't have to have a 20-year friendship for it to mean the most. I have friendships right now that have only been going for a few months, but I've known these people since eternity, and I can feel that and believe that. And I trust that they're in my life right now because we're meant to be in each other's lives. So if something wants to go, let it go, right? If something wants to be here, let it be here. If you meet somebody and you resonate with them and you have a good time with them and you just want to hang out with them all the time, trust yourself. There's a reason that you're being drawn together. But also, don't cling and say this is now my only person, because that's not true either. We are all sovereign beings and have to respect that about each other. And when we get more and more comfortable with just being awesome as ourselves, more come in. And it's a lot more fun because the beings you're going to be attracting don't need any fixing. They don't have all these crazy problems that are going to tie you up in energetic issues. They're going to be right there with you, ready to rock, ready to party. So just remember that. I'm going to go, and I love you guys. I will be back on Friday with the weekend energy update. If you are interested in reactivation, week 2 is launching tomorrow, and it's getting good reviews, which I'm excited about. So you can click the link there to learn more or send me a message. Love you guys. Have an awesome day. If this has been helpful for you, I would so very much appreciate you sharing. Mwah.